Hey, family, we are about a month into tax season, and some of you all are coming to the realization that you need to update your W-4 to ensure that you have enough money withheld throughout the year so you don't have an unexpected bill at tax time. Well, if that's you, or if you're just being proactive and want to stay ahead of the game, you, my friend, are in the right place. In tonight's video, we are going to be going over the W-4 for 2026 for a taxpayer that is head of household. Okay, now you do not qualify to be head of household if you are married and you occupy the same residence as your spouse. There are exceptions to being married and claiming head of household, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. There is a podcast episode that I'll link below that goes over whether or not you qualify for a head of household status. Okay? So let's get right into our example, all right? Because the W-4 is what you turn into your employer to ensure that they have enough federal income tax withheld for you throughout the year. So in tonight's example, we have Alexander I. Cross. Okay, so make sure that your name, middle initial, and last name match your social security card. Then we're going to have your social security number here in box B. Okay. And forgive me because I always go across like this instead of doing all of A. So for A, we have Alexander I. Cross. His address is 1735 5th Street Northwest. If you're familiar with DC, you know that's how they do the streets. He's in Washington, DC, zip code 20011. Okay. Then we would put the social security number. All right. We want to make sure again that information matches what's on your social security card and in their database at the Social Security Administration office because that's what's connected to the IRS information. For the filing status, we're checking head of household. So again, check only if you're unmarried and pay more than half of the cost of keeping up a home for yourself and a qualifying individual. All right. So it's important to note that it says individual here. It does not have to be a qualifying child. Okay. So even if it is a disabled child who is an adult, you could still be head of household. Or if you were keeping up more than half the cost of a home for a parent, they could be your dependent. Okay? So, again, not getting too deep into it today, but I do want to remind you here there is an IRS tax withholding estimator that you can use. You can go there and right here, even if you pull up the PDF, it will let you click on it and you can use your last check stub to help you get a more exact number. What we're doing today gets you more of a guesstimate, okay? So in this example with Alexander I. Cross, he does not have multiple jobs. And if you're familiar with who Alexander Cross is, let me know in the comments. But you already know for his scenario, he doesn't have a spouse that works. So he technically, if we're looking at the first couple of years, could qualify for qualifying surviving spouse. But for the sake of this example, we're doing head of household. Okay, so we're going to skip step 2 because none of that applies. Now, step 3, claim dependent and other credits. So here, if the total income is going to be less than $200,000 for someone that's head of household or single, and they have a dependent that's under the age of 17, they're going to multiply that number of dependents they have under the age of 17 by 2,200. This is an increase of $200 from last year. So I only have one child here, but again, if you're familiar with who Alexander Cross is, let me know in the comments below. He actually has two dependents under the age of 17, so we're going to correct this and put the $4,400, okay? Now, because he doesn't have any dependents that are over the age of 17, we are going to skip this box because the other dependent credit is $500. All right, so the total of boxes 3A and 3B is going to be $4,400. Okay. Now, when we get to step four, we're looking for other adjustments. So, when you work multiple jobs or you have other sources of income, each job or each source of income that may request for you to do withholding doesn't take into account the other ones. That's why you would potentially have to have extra withholding done or add in that other income. But on the flip side, you can also take into account if you qualify for certain deductions. So, if Alexander Cross has an HSA, he can put the amount that he's contributing to his HSA right here. Or if he is going to have qualified overtime, that is going to qualify to be deducted under the new no tax on overtime, then that deduction would go here. All right. But if you're familiar with who he is, you know his job doesn't really give paid overtime, this isn't going to apply to him. But let's just say, for example, that he does a little investing trading on Robinhood, right? So let's say that he is anticipating to make $3,000 on Robinhood through dividends, interest, and then from selling stock. So we would put that 3,000 there. So on this W-4 is going to automatically withhold for that extra 3,000 so he doesn't get a smaller unexpected bill, right? We don't want any extra withholding here. All right. So we are now done with this W-4. He could turn this in to the DCPD. They would take care of this information and it's valid once he signs this. Now, every time I do this video, somebody's going to ask me, how do you just go exempt? I'm going to urge you to not go exempt if your income is more than the standard deduction. But what do I know, right? If you want to claim that you are exempt from withholding for 2026 and you are saying that you meet the conditions for exemption, which means you didn't have a tax liability last year and you don't anticipate to have one this year, you would check this box. Wouldn't worry about filling this stuff out. You just check the box, sign it, and turn it in. All right. So I try to keep this year's short and sweet. If you have any questions at all, you can drop those down in the comments, along with if you know who Alexander Cross is. All right. Sharing is caring. Make sure you guys share this as well. If you found it helpful, let them know who helped you. Timalyn, America's favorite EA. I'll see you guys in the next video.